Well, straight to the big story this evening. The Reserve Bank of India has kicked off the new financial year with a 25 basis point cut to the repo rate. Now, this is the second successive rate cut, taking the key policy rate to 6%, the lowest level in a year. 4 members of the Monetary Policy Committee voted for the cut and 2 voted against it. But the central bank has left its stance unchanged at neutral, keeping the markets guessing on the future of the rate trajectory. Lata and Ritu bring us the highlights of the monetary policy.
The Reserve Bank of India today delivered a second consecutive 25 basis point rate cut along expected lines as it worried about pressures on growth and inflation. But it took the markets by surprise by maintaining a neutral rather than a dovish tone. The Monetary Policy Committee voted 4:2 in favour of a rate cut, taking the repo rate to its lowest level in a year at 6%. It also cut the inflation forecast by 40 basis points to 2.9 to 3% for the first half of the current year and to 3.5 to 3.8% for the second half. But despite lowering inflation projections steeply, the MPC voted 5:1 to keep the stance of the policy unchanged in neutral mode, leaving the markets wondering if there are any more rate cuts to follow. The RBI also cut its growth projection for FY20 by 20 basis points to 7.2%.
Domestic GDP growth is also estimated to slow in 2018-19, with high-frequency indicators suggesting slackening of urban and rural demand as well as investment activity.
Perhaps the neutral stance was taken because of the risks to inflation projections. The forecast of it being an El Nino year, impact of deficient monsoons on food prices, haziness over crude prices and likely fiscal slippages were cited as potential risks. Besides the policy actions, the RBI allowed banks to count an additional 2% of their statutory liquidity ratio bonds towards the overall liquidity coverage ratio. This means banks have to keep a smaller share of their deposits in government bonds and can hence lend more to companies. RBI also said that its drive to force banks to link their retail and SME loans to external benchmarks is being deferred for now. The governor also indicated that the central bank would come out with a revised circular on bad loans resolution after the Supreme Court recently scrapped the Feb 12 circular.
The validity of the Section 35AA stands, and henceforth we have to comply with the directions of the Supreme Court in this regard and act accordingly. In the light of Honorable Supreme Court order, the Reserve Bank of India will take necessary steps, including issuance of a revised circular as may be necessary for expeditious and effective resolution of stressed assets.
The governor also clarified that the Bimal Jalan committee, which was expected to submit its report on capital framework for the RBI, has sought a few more days to finalize its decision.
I've had the chairman of the committee, Dr. Bimal Jalan, he spoke to me and we had a discussion. I think they require a few days more to finalize the report. The deliberations are in advanced stage.
So we are still in the middle, in mid-April or so.
Mid-April or so.
Yeah.
Earlier timeline was end month?
No, same. Similar.
Okay. So are you on the timeline or you are slightly...
We are more or less on the timeline.
From the reaction of the markets, it clearly appears that the governor has been less dovish than was expected.
Highlights there of the Monetary Policy Committee. Lata joins us now with her take. Lata, the rate cut was along expected lines. That's what our poll threw up as well, 25 basis points. But what does the Reserve Bank sticking to the neutral stance mean now as far as the repo rate trajectory itself is concerned?
Well, it's very clear that it was not as dovish as what the market expected, because as you can see, the stock markets, the rupee market and the bond markets have all reacted negatively. So perhaps everyone expected a little more by way of show of dovishness in some fashion or the other, quantitatively by, qualitatively by changing the stance, or just being more morose about growth would have perhaps satisfied the market a little more. There are some people who might even say that the policy is confusing. If you have reduced the first half inflation estimates by almost half a percentage point, 40 basis points, and you have reduced the second half inflation estimates by about 10-20 basis points, in spite of it you're not budging from your neutral stance. Clearly, with a 300 basis point real rate, positive real rate, they could have at least shown some sign of accommodating one more rate cut and therefore signaling it with an accommodative stance. That can be a criticism against the policy. But on the other hand, you have to give the MPC the benefit of doubt because there are too many uncertainties ahead of an election. Very often in the past, the Reserve Bank has kept policy steady. This one at least went ahead and cut one rate. You don't know what is the colour of the government, what is the shape of the next budget and what will be the intensity of the rainfall. And of course the vagaries of crude prices. So it would be wise to wait and be data dependent and event dependent. So, you have to give MPC points for that. Maybe caution is better than bravery at this juncture. And finally, this policy clearly signifies the transitioning of Shaktikanta Das as from a North Bloc official to a Mint Street Mandarin. The same discipline and the same severity towards data.
All right, Lata, many thanks for taking us through what this means now as far as the rate trajectory is concerned. Also, more effective and appropriate transmission is what the governor is hoping for. But is there room now for banks to be able to do much more than they have? Remember, they've been cutting by about 5 to 10 basis points. On to an exclusive now from North Bloc. The government may be staring at a tax revenue shortfall of 1.15 lakh crore rupees in the fiscal gone by. However, as CNBC-TV18 has been reporting, the fiscal deficit will be met. This because a higher nominal GDP and other factors have helped the government achieve that target of 3.4%. Sapna joins us now with more. Sapna, explain to us how the government has managed to achieve the fiscal deficit number, given that there is a 1.15 lakh crore rupee tax shortfall.
Correct. In fact, just a very quick update on these numbers because, it was 3rd, 4th April as and how we are going on continuously reporting on this issue. So basically, clearly a 40,000 crore shortfall in direct taxes, FY19, almost final on that front. Also, look at indirect taxes, 75,000 crore shortfall. That's a bit of a shocker. And it's not just about CGST, it's IGST, lower by around more than 25,000 crores and excise, over 20,000 crores. Clearly indicating that possibly the cuts that they had done for petroleum, rates, that has not really been recovered as was being claimed earlier by the government. So now what happens next? Well, next, of course, in terms of FY19, there's another added factor that has helped government meet the number, the deficit number, basically, and this is the higher nominal GDP base, which they got on 28th February in the second advance estimates. So if you look at the budget number when these calculations were made, and especially the FD target, the GDP mentioned over there was 188 odd lakh crores. Now that number has moved up to 190 odd lakh crores. So, that's a jump of over 2 lakh crores. That's a big number that we're talking about, and that is how they have done it. So this is an added factor. And of course, apart from that, the big one, over 50,000 crores worth of expenditure savings. And they're claiming that really savings because people did not come forward to ask for the money. So anybody who doesn't come forward doesn't get. I mean, it was as simple as that. And of course, this will include PM Kisan. They have saved, quote unquote, 14,000 crores on that.
All right, Sapna, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much. That's how the government has achieved the fiscal deficit calculation, the target of 3.4%, higher nominal GDP, savings of about 50,000 crores, and of course, dipping into the public corpus as well. Well, an ongoing story that we've been tracking, lenders of debt-ridden Jet Airways met today to take a decision on the immediate funding required to keep the airline afloat. It's estimated that 1,500 crore rupees is needed to sustain operations immediately. Anu joins us now with more details. Anu, is there hope of a consensus? There have been several meetings that have taken place today. What's the latest?
Well, there is certain developments have taken place. Just a short while ago, SBI Chairman Rajneesh Kumar, he left the building of the headquarters at Delhi. So the lenders meeting is now complete. Jet Airways CEO Vinay Dubey is currently here at the Aviation Ministry, and he is expected to give an update of the conclusion of that meeting. And even earlier today, Aviation Secretary said that Jet Airways has again reiterated that it will be able to fly 75 planes by the end of the month. So that means they are hopeful of certain funds coming from this consortium of banks, but we are yet to hear officially from the bank or from the airline as to what is the breakup of the fund infusion, whether the funds are coming in tranche, whether the funds are coming from one bank or from a group of banks, or SBI is putting in the entire sum. So there is a lot of confusion there, but we are expecting a press release shortly on that.
All right, Anu, we'll leave it there for now. Lenders meet has concluded. We will hope to hear an update from Vinay Dubey of Jet Airways shortly. But on to the big political headlines tonight. Rahul Gandhi has filed his nomination from Kerala's Wayanad. This is the second constituency where he will be contesting from, in addition to the bastion of Amethi in UP. Remember, the BJP has alleged that Gandhi was contesting from Wayanad as he was unsure of his prospects in Amethi. The left has also been critical of the decision, though the Congress president today told the media that he was contesting from Kerala to propagate the message that India is one country, and also making it clear that he would not attack the left in any form or fashion.
I felt that there is an assault on the idea of Kerala, of the south, of the northeast. There is an assault taking place, an attack taking place by RSS, BJP, Narendra Modi. I understand that the CPM has to attack me. I understand that they have to fight me. But I am not going to say a word against the CPM. So I will absorb all their attack with happiness, but from me, you will not hear a word in my campaign against the CPM.
Well, that's Rahul Gandhi filing his nomination from Wayanad in Kerala. Now, 48 hours ahead of the BJP's Foundation Day, the party's tallest leader and founding member, L.K. Advani, has launched an attack on the current dispensation. Mr. Advani has broken his silence after Amit Shah replaced him as the candidate from Gandhinagar, a move that effectively has brought the curtains down on his political career. In a blog post, he says, and I quote, "In our conception of Indian nationalism, we have never regarded those who disagree with us politically as anti-national," end of quote. Now, it's a telling statement, seeing as it comes just days after both Prime Minister Modi and BJP President Amit Shah have called the Congress manifesto anti-national. In fact, it's a sentiment that Amit Shah has repeatedly made. In fact, at a recent rally in Uttarkashi, Amit Shah said, and I quote, "Even at the time of the Balakot airstrikes, when the whole country was rejoicing, Rahul Baba and his anti-national team were the only ones besides Imran Khan who expressed disappointment and were asking for evidence," end of quote. The Prime Minister has not been hesitant in using this either. At a rally in Maharashtra yesterday, he said, and I quote, "The Congress's manifesto is a document of conspiracy by those who gave the slogan of Bharat Tere Tukde Honge. Meanwhile, India, you will be dismembered." In his blog, L.K. Advani said, and I quote again, "The essence of Indian democracy is respect for diversity and freedom of expression," end of quote. It's time now for us to head into a break, but coming up next, DTH service provider Tata Sky clarifies today that Namo TV, which was launched on the 31st of March, is not a Hindi news service and hence no need for a government license. More on that and whether this is a clever loophole that the BJP has used. That and more when we return. Well, DTH service provider Tata Sky has clarified today that Namo TV, which was launched on the 31st of March, is not a Hindi news service and hence the need for a government license does not arise. The shift in stance comes days after Tata Sky's earlier tweet that said that Namo TV was a Hindi news service which provides the latest breaking news on national politics. Kevin Lee joins us now with more on this and the other controversies along the campaign trail. Kevin.
Well, three major controversies I'm going to talk about. The Namo channel might have had a quiet launch on the 31st of March, but it's in the spotlight now with an intense debate about its true nature. Tata Sky had earlier referred to the channel as a Hindi news service on Twitter, and the Aam Aadmi Party had then filed a complaint with the EC accusing the channel of being against the principle of a level playing field for all political parties. The EC had issued a notice to the Information and Broadcast Ministry yesterday, to which the INB Ministry has said that the channel is an ad platform. However, today, in an interview with the news channel, Tata Sky said that the channel was a special services channel whose feed is broadcast directly by the BJP. So the debate over the nature of Namo TV continues. But state broadcaster Doordarshan also came under fire from the EC for broadcasting the Prime Minister's Main Bhi Chaukidar address in full last weekend. This time it was the Congress party who had filed a complaint and the EC had asked Doordarshan to clarify. Today, Doordarshan said it had carried the address due to high news value and it is gathering information to submit an account of its coverage of all political parties to the Election Commission. The last thing we're tracking, the Prime Minister's biopic starting Vivek Oberoi will not be releasing tomorrow. This after the Supreme Court has decided to hear a fresh petition on the case on Monday. The Congress's argument is that the release of the film could affect free and fair elections. So a fair bit of drama there for the audio-visual medium as far as the BJP is concerned.
Well, that is certainly the case. Thanks very much, Kevin, for taking us through the three controversies. For more on this, and I'll add another controversy to that over electoral bonds, let me bring in the former CEC, Mr. Krishnamurthy, for this conversation. Mr. Krishnamurthy, thanks very much for joining us here, sir, on CNBC-TV18. Let's start by talking about the Namo TV, sir. Now, the Aam Aadmi Party has moved the Election Commission. The Election Commission asked the Information and Broadcasting Ministry to respond. The Information and Broadcasting Ministry says this is an ad platform. The DTH service provider says the feed is coming directly from the BJP. Is this a problem to your mind, sir? If you were in the Election Commission, would you allow this to go through?
See, I'm talking only with the limited facts, so I may not be absolutely correct, but I'm telling you with whatever information I have. Suppose somebody starts a newspaper exclusively for a particular party. Or suppose somebody publishes a book containing speeches of the person. Is it a violation of the Model Code of Conduct? Certainly not. Similarly, I don't know. As far as this Namo TV is concerned, who is funding it, how is it being done, we'll have to find out. If it is funded by the party, it has to be stated in the party's expenditure account. If it is funded by an individual or a candidate, it should be accounted for in the individual's account. So unless we have the full facts, my own impression is if it is a mere collection of speeches being repeated or whatever it is, if Model Code of Conduct cannot apply to a book publication or some other person bringing out all this information, it may not be, or a newspaper, as I said, then it may not be a violation. So unless we have the full facts, I'm unable to say it is absolutely doubt-free.
Well, you're right, sir. We don't have the full facts because what we have is information that's coming in from various sources. But what is clear now from an interview that the Tata Sky, the DTH service provider CEO, has given to a television channel, saying that the feed is directly coming from the Bharatiya Janata Party.
So the party should include it in their expenditure. Absolutely. There is no doubt about that. Because they have to file a statement of expenditure.
Let me then move to the...
Yeah.
Okay. But let me then come to the second issue, sir, the second controversy, which is now moved to the Supreme Court, which is on the Modi biopic, a movie which has been made on the life and the journey of the Prime Minister. Again, opposition parties say that this will come in the way of conducting a fair election because it does not provide a level playing field. The Supreme Court will hear the matter again on Monday. What's your own assessment?
Yeah, unfortunately, the Model Code of Conduct is being attacked on every front. Now, if a picture is taken, can other parties also take a similar picture? Is there any prevention? If it is a level playing field, so long as the other party is not prevented from taking a similar picture, how can you complain that it is not a level playing field? So my own feeling is, of course, we'll have to see what is the material contained in the film, etc. But be that as it may, as far as I am concerned, anybody can take any picture in this country so long as it is cleared by the censor board. And in any case, as far as this is concerned, I believe it has been placed before the Election Commission. The Election Commission has not stood in the way. So if another party wants to take another film on another leader, where is the prevention? Nobody is preventing them from doing it. So I'm little worried, concerned.
So you're saying there is a level playing field. Nobody... Conduct or not. The EC has cleared it. It is now up to the Supreme Court, which is where the matter rests. Let me now come to the other controversy, sir, and that has to do with electoral bonds. The Election Commission making it clear in its affidavit to the Supreme Court that it is uncomfortable with electoral bonds. It believes electoral bonds have, in fact, done away with transparency in political funding. They say that it could perhaps be a violation of the People's Representation Act as well. There are some who believe that this is, in fact, unconstitutional. It's ultra-virus of of the Reserve Bank of India Act as well. The government is defending it. In fact, just before I get your comments on it, let's listen in to what the Finance Minister has reiterated on why he believes that electoral bonds are a must, responding to a question asked by Uday Kotak today. Listen in.
Electoral reform has been talked about. In that context, how do you see the path towards electoral reforms and the role of electoral bonds in that journey?
I regret that the whole debate is an ill-informed one. Let us see the earlier system. Who's the donor? Not known. Who's the intermediary who brings it? Not known. Who's the political worker who may part with the entire thing or pilfer with some part of it? Not known. Which party gets it? Not known. How does the party spend it? Not known. Total black money. Every stage is non-transparent. Now there is a particular psyche of individuals, particularly in the NGO sector, that they won't suggest a solution, but they have a problem with every solution.
Well, that's the Finance Minister defending electoral bonds, but it's not just the NGO sector that's come out against electoral bonds. It's the Election Commission itself. And, of course, people like Mr. PDT Achari, former Lok Sabha Secretary General as well. Mr. Krishnamurthy, what do you make of the controversy as far as electoral bonds are concerned? And do you believe that the Election Commission is right in asking for electoral bonds to be done away with?
Let me say something more. The funding of elections is already beset with too many loopholes. So for example, there is no limit to the party expenditure. Then the individual candidate, if they do it in cash, they may not even account for it. And now the electoral bonds, I do not agree that it is more transparent. It may be between a donor and the donee, but the public should know, because when the money is paid by a corporate, there is an obnoxious nexus between the corporate and the political party. They enter into a deal, they may influence in the policy decisions. So I do not agree that it is a more transparent system. It must go. I entirely agree with the Election Commission that this is not to be continued. It will only worsen the situation as far as funding of elections is concerned. I have already suggested there should be a national election fund to which all individuals and corporates can give 100% tax exemption, and it must be administered in consultation with all political parties by the Election Commission. The system of corporates giving money, particularly laws-making companies under the present scheme, is even possible. It is not at all desirable. It is not in the interest of good democracy in this country. So I do not agree with the argument that it is more transparent.
So you're absolutely clear, Mr. Krishnamurthy, electoral bonds need to go?
No, it should go forthwith, in my opinion.
Okay. In complete agreement with the affidavit filed by the Election Commission, then what do you make of what you just heard there from the Finance Minister, sir, saying that this is an ill-informed debate that's happening on electoral bonds?
I do not agree with him. It is not an ill-informed debate, because he's only showing one particular aspect of funding of elections. He doesn't talk about the nexus between the corporates and the political parties and how do they influence policy matters. So in my opinion, he is giving one side of the picture. He does not give the whole picture. So I do not agree with him at all.
Okay. Unequivocal message there from T.S. Krishnamurthy, the former Chief Election Commissioner, at least on electoral bonds, saying they must go forthwith. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us here on CNBC-TV18 to discuss the many controversies that have come the way of the Election Commission, the Namo TV, the biopic, the Modi biopic, and, of course, electoral bonds. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of What's Hot. But do